What happens when past pain meets spiritual healing? Join Kofi on a life-changing journey through African folklore, self-discovery, and inner peace, a tale of redemption and growth. Subscribe now for more stories that inspire transformation. The wind whispered through the ancient baobab trees, carrying the voices of ancestors across the land. It was not just air moving, it was a message, a calling. The breeze danced through the village, caressing Kofi's troubled soul, urging him to listen. His heart felt heavy, weighed down by pain and regret. But in the wind, there was a promise, a chance to heal, a journey to self-discovery. As the golden sun dipped below the horizon, the air grew thick with mystery and destiny. Lake Tano called his name, and Kofi knew his journey had begun. The village breathed with history, every stone, every tree, carrying the whispers of those who came before. Kofi walked through the narrow paths, hearing faint echoes of laughter, sorrow, and wisdom. The elders' chants still lingered in the air, their words of guidance and warning woven into the wind. This was no ordinary place. Here, the past and present intertwined, and the spirits watched. Kofi felt their presence, their silent call to seek truth, face his pain, and heal. The echoes of the ancestors grew louder in his soul. The journey to Lake Tano had truly begun. Kofi's heart ached, a weight too heavy to carry. Love once flourished, but now only pain remained. The memories haunted him, each one a shadow of what could have been. Betrayal cut deep, leaving scars that refused to heal. He tried to forget, to move on, but the wound stayed open, festering in silence. The night whispered his doubts, reminding him of loss, regret, and emptiness. He stood alone, staring into the distance, wondering if he could ever feel whole again. But somewhere in the darkness, a call, a chance for healing, waited at Lake Tano. Nana Essie stood still, her eyes deep with knowledge. She watched Kofi, studying the weight in his soul. "The lake calls you," she said, her voice low, "but it demands a price." Her words hung heavy, wrapped in ancient wisdom. To heal, you must face your pain, your regrets, your fears. The spirits will test you. The journey will break you before it mends you. Kofi felt a chill, not from the wind, but from the truth in her voice. "Go if you must," she warned, "but know this, not all who seek healing return the same." That night, Kofi dreamed, a vision so vivid, so real, it felt like a whisper from the spirits. A woman stood by Lake Tano, her eyes glowing like the moon, her voice soft but powerful. "Come," she whispered, "your soul awaits its healing." The wind carried her words, wrapping around Kofi like a song only he could hear. His heart raced, drawn to the unknown, to the promise of peace. He awoke breathless, the night still and watching. The call of the lake was real, a force pulling him toward destiny, toward the truth waiting in the water. Kofi stepped forward, leaving his village behind, entering the dense whispering forest. The trees stood tall, their shadows long and watchful. Each step felt heavy, as if the earth tested his resolve. The wind sighed, carrying voices of the past, reminding him of love lost, regrets unforgotten. Thorns scraped his skin, symbols of the pain he refused to face. A stream blocked his path, its waters dark, cold, and uninviting. He knew there was no turning back. The journey had begun, and with it, the trials that would test his heart, his soul, and his very existence. The air grew heavy, filled with whispers of the past. Kofi felt eyes upon him, but no one was there. Shadows moved, twisting into familiar faces, echoing his pain, his failures, his broken promises. You left, they whispered. You failed. You lost her. His heart pounded, the weight of guilt crushing him. He tried to look away, but the shadows followed, mirroring every step. His regrets clung to him, refusing to let go. Tears burned his eyes, but he kept walking. He knew the only way out was forward, through the darkness, through the truth, toward the light. Kofi stumbled forward, breathless, until he stood before a massive baobab tree, its ancient roots twisted like fingers of time. The air shifted, heavy with wisdom and power. A voice echoed from the back, deep and resonant. Why do you seek healing, child? Kofi trembled, feeling the tree's spirit watching him, measuring his heart. I am lost, he whispered, broken, filled with regret. The tree shook, leaves rustling like ancient whispers. To heal, you must embrace your pain, it said. Only then will you find strength. Kofi touched the bark, feeling the weight of his journey shift inside him. Kofi walked deeper, his heart racing with doubt. A clearing appeared, where villagers sat in silence, motionless, their eyes closed in deep reflection. An elder spoke without opening his eyes. To heal, you must learn to wait. Kofi frowned, frustration rising. I cannot wait. My pain is too heavy. The elder smiled, his face calm as still water. Impatience changed the soul, he said. Only in stillness will you find freedom. Kofi sat among them, breathing slowly. The wind quieted, the world paused. In the silence, he heard something new, his own heart speaking, guiding him forward. Kofi stood still, his heart trembling with unease. A soft voice whispered his name, a voice he knew too well. It was her, the one he lost. Her words drifted through the wind, carrying memories of love, of laughter, of pain. Why did you leave me? She whispered, her tone filled with sorrow. Kofi clenched his fists, tears burning his eyes. I didn't leave. I was lost. The wind grew stronger, wrapping around him like an embrace from the past. Love wasn't gone. It lived within him. But to move forward, he had to let go. Kofi stood before a river, its dark waters rippling with memories. Every drop held his pain. Every wave whispered his regrets. He knew this was no ordinary river. It was his own tears, his own suffering. To cross it, he had to face it all. He knelt, touching the water, and suddenly images flashed. Lost love, broken promises, moments of weakness. His heart pounded, his breath shaky, but he stepped forward, letting the water wash over him. The cold stung, yet it cleansed. With every step, his burden lightened. The past didn't disappear, but its hold on him began to fade. Kofi emerged from the river, his body trembling but lighter. Ahead, drums beat loudly, their rhythm pulsing like a heartbeat. Villagers danced around the fire, their movements raw, powerful, filled with life. An elder motioned to him, dance, let your soul speak. Kofi hesitated, then stepped forward. His feet moved, unsure at first, but then his body remembered. Each step released a memory, each turn freed a regret. The fire glowed brighter, as if burning away his pain. He danced until his heart felt whole again. The past had shaped him, but it no longer controlled him. Kofi stood still, his breath steady, his heart lighter. The fire faded, and suddenly a brilliant light surrounded him. Images appeared, a future unseen, a life rebuilt. He saw himself strong, at peace, filled with purpose, no longer broken, no longer lost. He saw love returning, friends beside him, a path forward. The voice of the lake spoke softly. This is who you can become. Tears filled his eyes, not from pain, but from hope. His past was a chapter, but not his story. The future was his to claim, and he was ready to walk into it. Kofi turned toward the water, and there she stood, the woman from his dreams. Her eyes held the wisdom of ages, her presence calm yet powerful. "You have come far," she whispered, "but one final step remains." Her voice was like the wind, gentle yet unyielding. "What do you seek, Kofi?" His heart raced, his soul trembled. "Peace," he said. "Forgiveness. Myself." She smiled, lifting her hand to the water. The lake began to glow, a reflection of his own soul. "Then step forward," she said, "and let the water show you the truth." Kofi stepped forward, his reflection shifting in the water. But it wasn't just his face he saw, it was his past, his pain, his regrets. The water shimmered, showing him every tear, every mistake, every lost moment. His heart pounded. Could he forgive himself? The woman of the lake spoke softly. "You cannot change the past, but you can release it." His hand trembled as he touched the water, and suddenly the images faded. Only him remained, stronger, whole. His reflection smiled back for the first time. He was no longer a prisoner of his pain. He was free. Kofi closed his eyes, feeling the cool embrace of the water. It surrounded him, washing away the burdens he carried. Each drop held power, a force older than time itself. The pain began to fade, replaced by a warmth he had forgotten. The voice of the lake whispered, "You are not your mistakes. You are not your pain. You are more." Tears mixed with the water, but they were no longer tears of sorrow. They were tears of release. When he opened his eyes, he knew he was healed, he was whole, he was ready to live again. Kofi stepped out of the water, his heart lighter, his soul renewed. The wind felt different, softer, warmer, welcoming. The forest no longer whispered doubt, but hope. Every step back toward the village felt like a new beginning. He was no longer chained to his past, no longer lost in regret. He breathed deeply, feeling life in his lungs once more. The night sky opened above him, stars shining brighter than ever before. He smiled for the first time in years. He was not just returning home, he was returning to himself, stronger, whole, alive. Kofi walked with purpose, his footsteps no longer heavy with pain. The trees bowed gently, the wind carried a new song, one of hope, not regret. Every breath felt deeper, every step stronger. He was not the same man who had left this path. The darkness had tested him, but it did not break him. The village lights glowed in the distance, a beacon calling him back. His heart, once shattered, now beat with new life. He had faced his fears, embraced his past, and found peace. The journey had changed him, forever and completely. Kofi entered the village, eyes watching, hearts waiting. Nana Ezi stood before him, her gaze deep, knowing. "You have returned," she said softly. Kofi nodded, tears in his eyes. "I have let go," he whispered. "I have forgiven." The elders smiled, children laughed, the air felt lighter. A weight he carried for years was gone. Love filled the space where pain once lived. He looked around, not as a man haunted, but as a man who had found himself. The past would always be a part of him, but it would no longer control him. He was free. Kofi stood among his people, no longer a man broken, but a man renewed. The fire burned bright, its flames dancing like ancestral spirits. He spoke, his voice strong, his words filled with wisdom and truth. Pain does not define us. Love, forgiveness, and growth do. The village listened, hearts opening, wounds healing. He had faced his darkest moment, but he had emerged stronger. Now his story would live on, a lesson for generations. The circle was complete, pain to healing, darkness to light. Kofi smiled, knowing his journey was just beginning. He was whole, he was free, he was home.